Hi, TLA folks and everyone else in the stratosphere. I'm so excited. I'm Roxy Monroe. I'm here with KidLit TV. We're at TLA in Austin, Texas, and I have the honor, KidLit TV has the honor to interview Cecilia Barham. And we've been talking, and I can tell you this is going to be a good interview, people. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you also. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today.
Let's get to some of the meat of it right away. As incoming president, what do you want to accomplish? You and I were just discussing off air your kind of mission statement. So we're discussing your mission statement. So could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Whenever you run for TLA president, you have a platform or something that you discuss as why you want to be president, what you'd like to accomplish during your term. And as I was thinking about that, I kept going back to TLA's vision statement, which is that each and every Texan would understand the value that Texas libraries bring to their lives. And I kept coming back to the words each and every. I felt that was so critical that when we talk about our librarians and the people that we serve, that every single person should have a voice, a place at the table, and that our shelves should be filled with books that represent everyone in our community, each and every Texan.
Wow, that sounds so powerful, really. And that's what you're going to work with in the next year, that kind of idea.
Yes, and so in addition to focusing on things that are of service to members, one of the big things that we do as president is we help to plan a conference. And so the 2020 conference in Houston, one of our conference goals is that diversity, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And our actual conference theme is TLA 2020, a vision for all Texans. And so as part of that, we're really focusing on having a very holistic approach to diversity inclusion in our conference. And rather than having we have 6 diversity panels and kind of creating that sense of otherness, we created a checklist where all of our programs and all of our program planners will be inclusive and approach it as a more holistic way.
That sounds wonderful. I mean, I hope we can come into Houston next year and participate in that. Now, you're a public librarian in a small library. First of all, how did you become a librarian? What was your start, your education?
My first really great library experiences were in my K through 4 school, my elementary school, and we had a wonderful librarian, Mrs. Barnett. And I came from a very underprivileged family. Neither of my parents had graduated from high school. There was a lot of disease and unsettled feelings in my home environment, but Mrs. Barnett was able to kind of see something in me, and she encouraged me, and she found books that connected with me, and she really is the reason I became a reader.
Shout out, Mrs. Barnett.
and so she kind of inspired me as a child, and it helped me to become a better reader and a better student. But I didn't really know that I was going to become a librarian, even though I had that great early start, until I was in college and I was an English major, and I was feeling a little disconnected from the idea of teaching. I really was so engrossed in books rather than in teaching of books, and I realized that libraries were the way for me to go.
Wow. So then did you go on and get an MS in library science?
Yes, I have a master's in information science, and I also have the master's in English that I was working on before I realized my true path.
That sounds wonderful, though. It sounds like a great combo. So now I did do a little research on you, and I know that now or recently, are you still a librarian at Indicator?
No, I'm now I'm the director of library services at North Richland Hills, but prior to that I had been the director at Indicator, Texas.
Now that's, I understand, a very small library, and weren't you on didn't you get like a huge honor, a nominee for like the best library in America or something?
Yes, I had an amazing team and huge community support from our library board and our council, and we were able to do some amazing things there in the time that I was there, and so we were actually a finalist for the Bill and Melinda Gates Library Journal Best Small Library in America.
That is huge. That's so exciting. I think all of a sudden I have this flash of bookmobiles, which are little teeny weeny libraries moving around.
We were a little bit bigger than a bookmobile. Not much.
So that's so exciting. I mean, that's just really exciting to hear your history and your story. So now to go to the present and the next year, what are the top 3 ways that you think that TLA I know that you are not a children's librarian. However, you consulted with some you
Yes.
mentioned to me.
I called in the experts because they're all around me.
Yeah.
And some of them immediately came to mind, like our reading list. We're known not only statewide but nationally for the reading list that we produce. They're used by libraries of all types across the country, and perhaps even with something like the Texas Bluebonnet Award internationally. And so the reading lists are a huge way in which we help our librarians connect children with books. Another thing that I think that we do really, really well as an organization is offering continuing education opportunities. As you probably know, the Texas State Library Association Conference is the largest state conference in the country, with rich, meaningful, comprehensive programming, a session on pretty much everything, and a lot of it has to do with how we connect our community, whether it's students or adults or whatever community we're serving, with books. Another way, too, within that kind of education purview is that we do a lot of webinars, both TLA as an organization and then our vendor partners provide continuing education webinars. And so I think education is a huge part of what TLA does.
Well, I know, as you say, it's the largest state conference of librarians in America, and that's why, and because of what you just said, all the publishers come here. They don't go to the other state ones. They usually come here. So that's kind of cool for us. So could you briefly go over there? I realize there are 10 reading lists, I think. Could you briefly just state the name and kind of what its grade level and that sort of thing?
Yes, absolutely. And I have to use my cheat sheet because there are 10 and I do not want to confuse them. And actually we also have total as an organization 11, but one is just strictly for adults. So we start with the 2x2s, which is for children that are 2 years through second grade. Then we go on to the Spot Award, which is the Spirit of Texas, which is for middle school or for high school. There are two separate lists. And the Spirit of Texas is a really exciting one because talk about engaging children with literature. This one is for Texas authors or illustrators to make the list. And in order to make the list, you actually have to be willing to do student visits or Skype into campuses to spend time with the students. So I think that's really amazing. Yeah.
Engaging and
Connecting.
interacting.
Yeah, so Spot is an awesome one. And then we have the Lone Star, which is for junior high, and the Tashas, which is for high school. Both of those are fiction and some nonfiction. And again, with all these lists, they're recreational reading. They're not tied to any curriculum, which allows for that sort of self-selection process and kids getting to read things they're interested in reading rather than things they have to read. And, the people who select these books spend so much time on it and consider the appeal factors on all these lists. So I should have probably started with that. And then we have two super fun ones, which are the Mavericks and the Little Mavericks, which are our graphic novel reading list, and Mavericks is 10 this year. So yay, happy birthday, Maverick. And then the Little Mavericks is for K through 5. So Mavericks is for 12, Maverick is for 6 through 12, Little Mavericks is for K through 5.
And both of them are graphic novels?
Yes.
So that's what a cute title, though. I mean, the Mavericks kind of makes sense with the graphic novels, and then Little Mavericks, that's darling.
And you're probably seeing a theme here. All of these kind of have a Texas twist to them. And then we have the Topaz List, which is nonfiction. And the Topaz does all grade levels and adult. So it's a mix of adult and children's K through 12 nonfiction selections. And then the one that everybody has heard of, the Texas Bluebonnet Award, which is amazing. And this is our 38th year to distribute a list for Texas Bluebonnet Award. So those are the 10 lists.
Oh, it just sounds so impressive. And I know I've heard, way back on the East Coast, we've always heard about your lists and how exciting it is when any of the authors in my publishing companies or that I know get on one of your like the 2x2, or how exciting it is for them. So now you segued into the Bluebonnet. So let's talk a little bit about how that works.
Yes, so the Bluebonnet is so wonderful and unique in that there's a list that's selected and then distributed to select libraries and schools where their students actually get to read and vote on which book wins.
And how big is that list?
It is a single, ultimately they pick one book, which is the winner. So and the list usually goes out with about, I have to check my notes again, 20 books. So,
and does that encompass what ages? Is it?
It's grades 3 through 5. So
it's basically picture books. Could it include nonfiction?
It could, yes. So it can be fiction or nonfiction. And so the kids have a few months in which they get to read a minimum of 5 of the 20 and then cast their votes. And then we have a really wonderful luncheon where the students and the authors get to attend, and it's just a lovely luncheon. That's been going on for many years, and
It's tomorrow,
yes,
right?
and Bound to be Bound has been the sole sponsor of that for many, many years. So we are very grateful for Bound to be Bound's partnership and sponsorship of this really amazing luncheon.
Shout out for Bound to be There.
Yes. And so this year's winner, I've got approval to announce that this year's winner was Reckless, Sergeant Reckless by Patricia McCormick. So yes.
So you'll be there tomorrow?
Yes, I will. I'm honored to get to be there.
So that must be almost, I was going to ask you the most exciting thing at the conference, but maybe it's yet to come.
I think that might be the most exciting thing. I mean, children dressing up to come to an award ceremony that's about books is pretty top of the list. It was also, we had something new this year at conference, so that was just from a fun perspective. We had an after hours on last night, Monday night, and we had evening programming, and the energy was great, the attendance was great, and I just think it was a lot of fun. So that was a really fun and unique experience, but definitely going to the TBA luncheon is going to be a highlight for me.
Wow, that sounds, we're going to be there. That sounds so cool. So do you have I realize that you're an adult librarian, but have you ever met or you have any interest in any famous children's extant or not, in all history of children's literature? Do you have any favorite author or illustrator that you would like to meet?
Well, actually, I have actually got to meet one of my favorite. He's a young adult. Can I do young adult? Is that okay? So I actually got to meet and introduce and be hospitality for John Green. Oh. It was an opportunity provided to me through TLA, and so it was definitely like the coolest author experience I've ever had. And he was as nice and funny and kind as gracious as you would think he would be.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that our heroes are good people. Yes. That's very exciting. Well, it's been wonderful to chat with you. And do you have any parting words to your constituents out there at TLA and in all of Texas?
I would just like to thank KidLit TV for being here and for giving me the opportunity to get to talk with you guys about the amazing TLA reading list and our conference. I'm super grateful. It's sponsors like you that make our conference successful. And so thank you very, very much for this opportunity.
Well, thank you. And let's say goodbye until the next time.